And so we're talking about intermittent fasting. That's right, intermittent fasting, because that is one of the most common types of fast that people are doing. And in the middle of intermittent fasting, there are several ways to do intermittent fasting. Yesterday, we talked about the 16-8, and today we're going to share some other ways to intermittent fast because that also helps to put you in a good metabolic space. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new year, new you. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to put their diabetes in remission, who want to get off of diabetes medications, improve their metabolic health. In fact, who want to reverse their diabetes. Hey, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music and let you know that we are happy that you are here in this space with us. Also, if you have questions, go ahead and put those in the comments because we'll get to those as we get through the evening and as we get into the discussion. And, tonight, as we always do, I've got my meters that we're going to be taking a look at here in just a minute. I've got my reports that we're going to be looking at, and you'll get to see those. In fact, let me hop over and you can. All right, so you see I've got my meters off to the side, and right down below, that is my Dexcom report, and we'll take a look and walk through those together here in just a little while. And always happy to see you when you stop in. In fact, I see Teresa, one of our community members out there. She's saying, hello, good evening, doctor, and everyone. Glad that you are all here and that you are all spending some time hanging out with me and with us here in this space. As I always do, I want to do a quick check-in to let you know where I am. As you know, yesterday when we did our show, I broke my fast here on the show at over 96 hours, I think. Well, no, 97 or 98 hours. So after 97 or 98 hours, we broke our fast. So let's go over and let's hop over and let's talk about how I'm feeling. As you know, I always do a check-in where I talk about where I am physically, mentally, and emotionally. And even though I'm not fasting today, I do want to spend some time going through each of those because you may be right now fasting and you may be getting ready to get into a fast or maybe even coming out of a fast. And I want to make sure that we are that we do the check-in so that you know where we are. So let's do that right now. So when we talk about fasting, physically, I go through that because these are, well, not for just physically, mentally, emotionally. I go through that because these are the places where you can have trouble, and sometimes people are not successful because of one of these. And we'll talk a little bit more after we get through our main teaching for tonight. We'll talk a little bit more about fasting in general. And you hear me walk through that. But physically, right, today I am actually feeling good because I've been eating. Okay, so I have been up and about. Normally, I don't see patients on Fridays. I have clients. I do consults on Fridays and take care of other things. So woke up this morning, actually started out early, around 6:45 or 7 o'clock. I had a program that I was doing, and then I had a client consult at right around 8:30. Spoke to my team at 8 o'clock in between because they were working and doing some things. And then took a walk. In fact, I have a video that I shot that we're going to be posting. Just a short clip of me out doing exercising. And so today, basically, physically was feeling good. Coming out of the fast last night, I did feel a little bit more churning, if you will, in my stomach. If you remember, I broke the fast with brisket and green beans and a salad and some steak that I had gotten from some local places. And so I think I felt a little bit more growling in my stomach. I did not have, one of the things that we talk about when we're breaking the fast is being slow in terms of refeeding. So even though there was a lot more growling, I did not have any excessive elimination or anything like that. Okay, but physically today, feeling pretty good. Mentally, I'm feeling clear. In fact, during a fast, people tend to have a lot of clarity that they sometimes don't have in other spaces. And so for me, that was not an issue. Was not an issue as I came out of the fast yesterday. Okay, and definitely not an issue as I come out of the fast or as I continue out of the fast today. Give me a second. I want to move my mic over. This is my other mic that's here. Turn that off. Sorry about that in your ear. All right. And then emotionally, actually feeling excited because there were a lot of things that I had planned for today. Even though I don't work per se, I don't go to my brick and mortar job. Let me say it that way. But I do a lot of things on Friday. Some exciting things that were happening today. I got a couple more things this evening that I'm working on, and so I'm always busy. I'm always busy. There's something going on. And so mentally, physically, mentally, emotionally, actually feeling pretty good. Let's go over and hop over and let's take a look at what my numbers have been doing since the end of the fast. And you'll see there that is my Libre currently, my Libre 3. And you'll see that we kind of have been kind of hovering 130s, 140s. Let's take a look at what my Dexcom is saying. And I'm going to go back to 24 hours. And so right at yesterday when I broke the fast, you see we got up. And we'll take a look at the report here in just a minute. So we got up after the fast. So I broke the fast with what I told you. And then I had, a couple of hours later, probably had some cashews and nuts. And as you see, and this is the reason why, and we'll talk here in a minute, this is the reason why I say that I can't have cashews or nuts around me. Because you see what they do to my blood sugars. Okay. All right. So that's my blood sugar there. That's my Libre, and that is my Dexcom. And then let's go ahead and let's hop over and we'll take a look at what my meters are actually showing, right? Because it's be interesting to see now both what my blood sugars are and also what my ketones are going to be. So if you think you know what my ketones are based on what you saw in terms of the blood sugar, or what you see on the screen in terms of blood sugar, go ahead and put that in the chat. So I have a Keto Mojo meter, and this one will give me both glucose and ketones. And then over here, I have a Contour, which is just a normal glucose meter. And I have the Contour, not because there is anything special about the Contour, but I have the Contour because it's the one that we use in the office. Okay. All right, so that's the Contour, and then let's go ahead and get a Keto Mojo. And I guess I shouldn't have said it that way. Not that there's nothing special about the Contour. I meant to say that it wasn't that I chose the Contour because it gives me any special kind of data. I have the Contour because it's the one that we use in the office. Does that sound better? Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get into our Lancet box here and get a couple of those out. And as I always say, this is a spring-loaded Lancet. You break off the top part. And then when I press this lever, then it will release the Lancet right here, and it will pop out and give me a poke. So let me go ahead, change to this view, and then we'll go ahead and do that so you can hear it. And hopefully we did get a good drop. Let's see. Yep, there it is. Look at that. All right, so let's get that over here on the Keto Mojo. Get that started. Get another drop, and that will go to the Contour. And then while those are going, I'm going to go ahead and open up. So 176 is actually what this guy says. Look at that. Look at the difference. And 155, 159. And I just finished eating, by the way. So let's go ahead and pop this out. And let's get another drop. And that will be for the Keto Mojo. And as I normally do, I'm going to not show you what that number is going to be. Let's pop over and let's talk. So if you think you know what the ketones are going to be, go ahead and drop those in the comments. Drop them in there because I'd love to know what you think. All right. So let's see. So our discussion. So we're talking about other ways of fasting, right? Other intermittent fasting methods. And so when we talked yesterday, we went through the 16-8. And remember, fasting, definition of fasting, is the voluntary abstention from, in our case, calorie-containing food and or drink. And then intermittent fasting is a scheduled routine that you go alternating between a fasting period and an eating period, right? So alternating between fasting and eating. And so yesterday we did a 16-8. We talked about that. And it was a 16-hour of fasting and then an 8-hour eating window. 16 of fasting, 8-hour eating window. And so people have asked me, several times, well, what are the other things? Because I said, hey, there are some other methods that you can do, and I didn't go through those, so we're going to do that here tonight. With intermittent fasting, there are four that we're going to go through in addition to that 16-8 that we did last night. But you can actually intermittent fast for any number of hours where you have an eating period. For example, we did 16-8 last night. You can do a 12-12. You can do an 18-6. You can do a 24, right? And we'll talk about that one here in just a little while. So the intermittent fasting can actually be any of those regimen that you want to put together. So it's an eating window or a fasting window followed by an eating window. Okay, and you're alternating those. So as we talk about those, I want you to keep that in mind. So first one I want to talk about is the 5-2, right? So the 5-2. And the 5-2, so this method involves eating normally for 5 days a week and then restricting your calories during 2 days a week. Now, those 2 days a week can be complete fast, or it could be a significant decrease in the number of calories that you're taking in. Right? So fasting. So when we're talking about fasting, though, we're talking about the complete abstention. So avoiding food. So in this case, if we're doing a 5-2, we would eat 5 days and we would fast for 2 days. Basically, it's an extended fast, right? A 48-hour fast. So notice what happens. There's an eating window and there's a fasting window. So a lot of our extended fasts can actually fit into what we call intermittent fasting, because that's all it means. It means we're eating during a period of time and we're fasting during a period of time. Now, there's become a nomenclature or thought process, or when we talk about intermittent fasting, we tend not to mean extended fasts. But an extended fast can fit into what we call intermittent fasting, because that is just a cycle back and forth between the two. And so the 5-2 diet is flexible, and it doesn't require daily fasting because you're eating for 5 days. And it can help with weight loss and improve metabolic health. So all of those things are beneficial. Okay? Those and I guess let me back up to say that when we talk about fasting, and this is a great point for me to make here at this juncture. When we talk about fasting helps with metabolic disease. It helps with other things as well, but fasting helps with metabolic disease. That's why fasting works for diabetes, because diabetes is the prototypic metabolic disease. But you'll see on the screen there that there are a host of metabolic diseases that get better as a result of what happens during the fasting process. Which is why you hear me say all the time, just because you're not diabetic doesn't mean that the process doesn't work for you. Doesn't mean that New Year, New You doesn't work. In fact, when I do my my consults with people who are interested in our coaching, the discussion that we have is around the New Year, New You principles because they are universal. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that I made that point there, and just want to take a moment and say hello to another one of our community members, Pamela. Hey, Pamela. Good evening. Thank you for stopping by. Glad to see you out there. Hope you had a great week, and glad that you took some time to come hang out with us tonight. All right. So let's get back. So right. So fasting, right? So the 5-2 for fasting for 5 days, and then eating for 5 days, and then fasting for 2 days. So that's the first one, or not the first one, but that is another way of doing what we call intermittent fasting. Alternate day fasting. And so this one is involving where every other day you either completely fast or you decrease calories. Now, I always put the decreased calories in there because that's the official definition. But when we are talking in this space about fasting, we're talking about completely avoiding calorie-containing food and or drinks. Okay? So anytime you hear me use the word fast, that's what I mean. So in this case, alternate day fasting, that is, you fast one day followed by a day of eating. You fast the next day, followed by a day of eating. So you're alternating, and that is the definition of intermittent fasting. It is a cycle of fasting followed by a cycle of eating. A cycle of fasting followed by eating, right? So that's the cycle. And so for alternate day fasting, this can lead to significant weight loss, right? Because basically you're only eating roughly, if you do it right, you're eating 50% of the food that you normally eat. Now here's an interesting thing that I did. I was talking to someone yesterday, and I was telling them that when I first started fasting, I really wanted to get a sense of what I was eating or what I had been eating before fasting. And so what I would do is I would save up the food that I ate that I would have normally eaten. So when my team orders food, when we get food here at the house, I would make a plate and I'd put it in the refrigerator. And at the end of the week, I would look to see what the food was that I would have eaten had I not been fasting. And if you haven't done that yet, it is an eye-opener. Oh, yeah. It is an eye-opener. So in terms of alternate day fasting, you're basically eating 50% of the food that you normally eat, right? Because every other day you're fasting. And so you get significant weight loss, improves various health markers, blood pressure, cholesterol, A1C, because we're improving blood sugar at this point, and all those things that we talk about when we talk about metabolic disease. It's more intensive than some of the other methods that we do, like the 16-8, or even the 5-2, right? Because you're eating for 5 days and you're fasting for 2 days. This one, you're every other day, you're making that change. Nothing wrong with that. But as I always say, when we're fasting, or the reason people don't succeed in fasting is not because fasting doesn't work, but because they've chosen a method or a regimen or a schedule that does not fit with their life. So if your family normally sits down to eat at 6 o'clock in the evening for supper, you can't then, I said you can't, but probably it's not a good idea to start a fast at 5 o'clock, because you automatically have set yourself up there for some dissonance. Okay, and then 1 meal a day. And 1 meal a day is actually very popular. A lot of people, without even knowing it, do 1 meal a day, right? People who are not even intending to fast will do 1 meal a day. And so 1 meal a day involves eating. So we're eating 1 large meal per day and fasting for the remaining 23 hours. basically. And so this would be classified as a 23-1, right? So like I said, 16-8, 18-6, 12-12, 23-1, right? So fasting for 23 hours, eating for 1 hour. And one meal a day can be effective for weight loss and simplifying meal planning. It allows for more significant caloric restriction. So remember, so each of the fasting methods work, but there are fasting methods that are more intense than others. So a 16-8, so a 12-12 works, right? 16-8 works, but notice that you are fasting for a longer period of time. And then an alternate day fast works, but it's more intense than the 5-2. And then when we get to one meal a day, that's even more intense. And then if you're doing things like, when we move, and today we're talking about intermittent fasting, but if we go to an extended fast, right, a 24-hour fast works. It's more intense than a 16-8. And certainly as 42 hours, more intense than a 24, 72, more intense than a 48, and so on and so forth, okay? And that's why I say when we are in the process of beginning to fast, the question is, why do we want to fast? What are we looking for? If you have some significant metabolic disease that you've got to get through, like right now, then a 12-12, while it is good, while it does work, while you will get benefit, is probably not where you need to be. You need to probably be doing a more intense fasting process. Okay, so one meal a day, and like I said, it's more intense. And then there's something called the warrior diet, and the warrior diet is fasting for 20 hours and then eating for 4 hours. And it's usually in the evening. And so here it is. This is a 24, right? And remember I mentioned that at the beginning. So the warrior diet can promote fat burning. It improves energy levels, and it aligns with the body's circadian rhythm. All right, so 24. So it's more in line with keeping with what happens in the body normally. And so as you're fasting, as you're choosing the fasting method that you want to use, important that you choose a method that falls and fits within the parameters and fits within your lifestyle. In fact, let me do this. Let me hop back over, and I want to pull up one of the slides that we talked about. Yesterday. Actually, a couple of the slides. Let me do that really quickly. Let's see, where are we? Let's do this one. I'm trying. Okay, how to start. And so I'm going to do how to start. And this one will say how to start a 16-8 method. But it really, the ideas here are also for any fast that you're going to do. This is really how you start it. Okay, so it says start 16-8, but I want you to within that space put any of the things that we've just talked about. Number one, you want to choose your eating window, and the eating window is that period of time where you are going to be eating food. And normally I tell people that eating window should coincide with things in your life. Right? If you know that you have meetings all afternoon, starting at 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, whatever, probably that's not a good eating window. You should probably choose a different eating window. Plan balanced meals. So when you're getting into the fast, and you'll hear that here in just a minute when we do our fasting review, right? Plan balanced meals. So when you aren't fasting, make sure that you have nutrient dense foods. Stay hydrated, right? And then listen to your body, all right? And then, so those are some tips. So those are, that's how you start. For success, ease into it. Eat nutrient-dense foods. Stay busy during the fasting period, whatever the period is. Get enough sleep, that is, get rest, and be consistent. And then what are some of the common challenges? Hunger, right? Plan for it. Drink lots of fluids. If you are going to be fasting, anticipate social situations, such as dinner with the family. If you plan to start fasting just when the family is sitting down to eat, you're either going to be frustrated, or you're going to feel guilty, or you're going to be upset, or you're going to have some interpersonal relationship problems. Right? Because your family's going to like, why are you not eating with us? Right? It's going to cause an issue. Right, low energy level is another one. People kind of feel low energy. Do you know anybody who's ever not fasted but tried to lose weight and they don't eat? Right, so they can be cranky with fasting. Right, with fasting, and that's one of the reasons we're not talking today about extended fast, but that's one of the reasons for doing an extended fast, because you get through that process and you get the benefit. Often people get short-circuited because they feel low energy. And some of it is because they haven't done a good job of maintaining rest and hydration and so forth, okay? And then if you're doing a fast, and if the intermittent fasting, 5-2 alternate day fasting, 1 meal a day fasting, and you are plateaued, for instance, your weight gets stuck, then you have to adjust the window and increase the activity of what you do in terms of exercise, and maybe increase the intensity. So if you normally do a 12-12 and you get up to a plateau, maybe now you do a 16-8. If you're at a 16-8, maybe now you do alternate day fasting. Okay? All right. So make sure that you are kind of paying attention to all of those. All right. So let's see who we got out there. So we said a good evening to Pamela. Thank you for coming through. CQ said, but still the calorie count is important, right? So good question. Good question. So CQ, let me hold on to that, because I'm gonna talk about that here in just a minute. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to hold on to that question. And Olivia Turner says, hello. Hey, Olivia, how are you? Thanks for stopping by and hanging out. Hey, all, this is one of my friends, one of my classmates. So thank you for stopping through. We're going to have to connect. And then Jennifer is saying, howdy, Teresa. Howdy, y'all. All right. Yes. So if you are in a fast, put in the chat right now how many hours you are currently fasting. If you are just out of a fast, you just came out of a fast, put out. And if you're just going into a fast, put in. So if you are currently in the middle of a fast, put how many hours you are at. If you have just come out of a fast, I want you to put out, and out with a number. So out 38 hours, out 48 hours. And if you are going into the fast right now, so put an in and then the number of hours that you are planning to fast. Okay, so we can see where we are. All right, and so let's hop over and let's take a look and let's talk a little bit about fasting. Right, so our fasting window, our plan for fasting. And whenever we are fasting, you'll recall that I love to talk about the 3 phases of fasting. Now, there are a lot of different parts of fasting. Let me say it that way. But there are basically 3 phases that I always want to make sure that we are dealing with, and this is what sets us up for being successful. And so we want to talk now about fasting, kind of basically a fasting review, a fasting overhaul. What do you need to know as you are going into a fast, as you're preparing a fast, as you're thinking about fasting? What are things that you got to know? And one of the most important things is to kind of look at fasting and say, okay, what are the parts of it? And so I want to break it up into 3 parts. Number 1, the preparation for the fast, the pre-fast, if you will, and then actually getting through the fast, and then the post-fast or breaking the fast. And the preparation for the fast has to do with 4 things, 4 main things. There are some others. Number 1 is we want to make sure that you are well rested. of all the things that you can do as you are preparing for a fast, probably the most important is to make sure that you're well rested. Because when you get into the fast, as you're moving through the fast, see that low energy that I mentioned that some people will feel? Sometimes you will feel that, or you feel something like that, and you think it's the fast that's causing it, but it's not the fast. It's the fact that you went to bed at 3 o'clock this morning. And you've been to bed 3 o'clock every morning for the last week. And so now if you're in the fast and your body is now transitioning, right, it's becoming fat burning, so it's moving from burning sugar to burning fat. In that transition, people will break the fast right there because they think the fast is causing them to feel tired. It's not the fast, it's that the fact that we did not prepare well. So as we are preparing for the fast, number one, make sure you are well rested. Number two, make sure that you are eating nutrient-dense foods when you are eating. So during your eating window, don't skimp. One of the things that happens is that people often think that, hey, during the fast, for instance, we're talking about intermittent fasting tonight. So during an intermittent fast, so I'm not eating for 16 hours, say 16-8. So I'm not eating for 16 hours, and then I'm going to eat during 8 hours. And so during the 8 hours that I'm going to eat, I'm going to even cut back on my calories during that period. And that may be admirable, but it is not beneficial. And in fact, it can short circuit the process. Okay, so during your eating window, we want to make sure you're eating nutrient-dense foods. Not necessarily that you're getting out there, and perhaps this is a good place. I was going to answer this later, CQ, but let me just answer. Let me plug it in here because it falls right in line. We'll come back and do a little bit more around it. But during the eating window, it is important to be conscious of the amount of food that you're eating. So we don't want to eat too little food, and we don't want to eat too much food. Okay, so just a brief introduction to the answer to your question, CQ, right? So we'll come back and do more for that. All right, so make sure you are well rested. Make sure that you're eating nutrient-dense foods and that you're eating balanced meals when you are eating, so during your eating window. Then make sure you are hydrated. Make sure you are hydrated, because if you remember when I started the show, we did our check-in physically, mentally, and emotionally, how we're feeling. If we're not remaining hydrated during that that process, then our bodies can become problematic. You feel lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty, palpitations. And it's not necessarily because of the fasting, it's because that we didn't do a good job of remaining hydrated. And then the fourth thing that I want you to do as you're preparing for the fast is make sure you're not coming out of a stressful situation or going into a stressful situation. I've had people come, say, hey, I just got married and we just moved into a house, or we just had a baby, and say, okay, this is probably not the time, at least this week, for you to begin fasting. I had someone talk to me just a couple, maybe this week or last week, and I said to them, hey, we probably should postpone our conversation until after this event that's going on. Okay, so make sure you're not coming out of a stressful situation or going into a stressful situation, because that can lead to some problems for us. And then I see some people are starting to put some things in the chat. So Pamela says that she is doing a 16-8. Okay, good. Yay. Very good, Pamela. And then Jennifer says this week is all intermittent fasting. Yesterday was a 16-8. Today is a 24, right? 20 fasting, 4 eating. Tomorrow should be an 18-6. I track my calories, proteins, and fat, so I know I'm eating enough. I track carbs to keep them low. Okay, Jennifer, awesome. Hey, y'all, anything that you want to change, you got to track. And you guys see here that I've got all kind of devices and apps and so forth. And I do that partially because I want you to see what's going on with my numbers. But partially, I do it because I need to know. I want to know what's going on. Just like Jennifer said, you track what you're doing so you can keep the carbs low. When I look at my numbers and I see that after eating those cashews, Jennifer, did you see that? Did you see my numbers? You'll see them in a minute. When those mixed nuts, and I saw that blood sugar go like this, yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's probably not what I need to be eating. Although I did go back and have another handful, but yeah, but you get the idea. Okay, all right. So back to our phases. So preparing for the fast. Now getting through the fast, and I break this up typically, 24 hours, 48 hours, and 72 hours. We're going to go in depth here with the first 24 hours. We're going to break it into smaller chunks so you can see what's going on in the body. We've done shows where we've done longer fast, and in the review for fasting, when we do a comprehensive, we'll go through longer fast. But here we want to do the first 24 hours, actually first 25 hours. All right, so let's talk about it. So the first 6 hours is really the postprandial phase. What does that mean? That means after eating, postprandial, after eating. So you just finished eating and your body is still in the process of digesting. So we're not really calling this a fasting. This is a, I just finished eating and I'm not eating yet. I'm not going back to eating. Everybody on the planet goes through this process. Now, the interesting thing is that we said 0 to 6 hours, right? So most of us don't even wait 6 hours before we eat again, because we eat breakfast at 8 o'clock and then at noon we have lunch. So that's 4 hours. And then at 4 or 5 o'clock we have supper. That's 4 or 5 hours. And then at 9 o'clock, we have a snack before we go to bed. So notice what happened, right? So most of us, if we follow a normal eating pattern, we're eating every 4 to 5 hours. And if you follow conventional wisdom that says eat frequent small meals, you're eating every 2 to 3 hours. And so it's no wonder that we are suffering for the metabolic diseases that we have, because during that entire process, right, all of those frequent eatings, even if you're doing, even if you're not doing frequent small meals, during that entire process, you're keeping your insulin levels high. And we said insulin is one of the issues, right? Remember the pillars, right? Decrease insulin, suppress appetite, and reduce sugar. Number one is decrease insulin. But yet everything that we do says, hey, let's keep the insulin high. All right, so first 0 to 6 hours, we're talking about the postprandial phase. And here, this is where the body is still processing the food that you just ate. Insulin levels are elevated, right? Insulin levels are elevated. And this helps with lowering glucose. But remember, insulin, when it comes out, it has all these other parameters, all these other things that it does, right? So the processes that are going on is digestion and absorption of the nutrients. Blood sugar levels begin to peak, so they get their highest during this period. Then they slowly drop. And energy levels are high at this point, right? Because the body has all of that sugar that just came in. The next 6 to 12 hours, this is the early fasting stage. And the insulin levels are starting to decrease and glucagon is coming out. So remember, insulin is the food hormone and glucagon is the fasting / no food hormone. They don't work together, right? So it's kind of like a seesaw. When one goes up, the other goes down, and vice versa. Okay, so if you have someone who has high sugar, their insulin is high. If you have someone who has low sugar, their glucagon is high. Well, should be high. There are situations where it's not, but that's a whole nother conversation, right? So glycogenolysis, the body is breaking down glycogen and it's converting that into glucose. And that's in the liver. And it takes about 24 to 36 hours for the liver to be depleted. That's kind of like having your refrigerator. So when you eat some food, the body takes some of it, puts it in the liver. That's the refrigerator. The rest of it gets put in the pantry, which is the fat cells. So when you stop eating, the body goes to the refrigerator, the liver, and it begins pulling stuff out of the liver. And that process takes 24 hours. That's why, for those of you who are out there who are diabetic, or those of you who are tracking your blood sugar, that's why you can go to bed and not eat and wake up in the morning with a higher blood sugar, because your liver is pumping out sugar. The body is pulling the glycogen out of the liver to create sugar. And that's its job. It's not doing anything wrong. That's what it's supposed to do. Okay. All right. So glycogenolysis is going on, and then energy levels begin to fluctuate, right? As the body now is starting to go, and the levels are starting to go down, and the body in the liver stores about 100 grams of glycogen, and in the muscles stores about 300 grams of glycogen. So for every gram of glycogen that it stores in the liver, it stores 3 grams of water. So every time you store 1 gram of glycogen, 3 grams of water go with it. And then energy levels, like I said, are beginning to fluctuate at this time. So now we move into the 12 to 18 hours, and we're transitioning to using fat. We're not all fat burning now, but we are transitioning in that direction. So this is right where the 16-8 would come into play, right? So if you're fasting for 16 hours, you're in this window. So you've gone through the 0 to 6 hours, so the body has absorbed the food. You've gone through the 6 to 12 hours. The body is now in the liver. Glycogenolysis is going on. It's converting glycogen into glucose, and it's starting to begin to deplete the glycogen from the liver. So carbs are starting to go down. And then in this phase, the body is now beginning to say, hey, my glycogen in the liver is starting to go low. I need to begin looking for another source. And it's starting now to increase the fat metabolism, burning fat. Fatty acid release begins, right? And the liver starts gluconeogenesis. So now the glycogen is gone. So glycogenolysis is ending, and gluconeogenesis is beginning. So it's looking at fat now to begin converting that into sugar, or into energy. I'm not going to say sugar. Converting it into energy, and we'll talk about the different components there in a minute. And this is the period where people talk about protein loss. Because they said, okay, the body is going to go burn protein. And that probably is true to a certain extent. But I'll tell you, if my body is looking for something to burn, it's probably not going to look at protein. Right? Because I have an ample supply of fat cells that it can use. Now, I have less fat cells now, right, than I used to have. Yay, by the way. Hand clap. Right? But it's going to burn fat cells. And the ratio of fat to protein that it burns is much, much higher. And then we get into the 18 to 24 hour, and this is where ketosis actually begins. So the liver is completely depleted, or mostly depleted from glucose. The glycogen is gone. We said that takes about 24 hours, between 24 and 36 hours. Glycogen stores are mainly depleted, leading to an increase in ketones that now come from the fat. Autophagy begins. That's the cellular cleanup process, that place where the body goes out and begins scavenging, it's recycling, it's cleaning up the system. Okay? An amazing process that's going on there. And it really starts to rev up. And energy levels, initially, the energy levels are fluctuating because we're transitioning into ketosis. And then during this period now, energy levels are starting to maybe stabilize, and we begin getting that mental clarity that people talk about, because now the body is sending ketones. Imagine burning, imagine your car, where you have a hybrid car, and you've switched over now from burning gas So we're not getting the exhaust. We're not getting that. We're actually burning electricity that's coming from that battery. So the body's doing that during this period. Okay. All right. So that is the first. That's the first 24 hours of fasting, and that's the process that's going on. So when you're doing a 16-8, just at 18 hours or 16 hours, that's what you're seeing. And then if you are doing a longer fast, like we've been doing, then you begin to see all these other things that are now coming in, and you begin to see some of the other features that happen during the fasted period. Now, if we extend that, and I said we're going to go a little bit beyond 24, if we extend that to 24 to 30 hours, then fat adaptation happens. This is where the body now is significantly burning fat, and it is using that solely for energy. Now, as we talked about before, when we look at breakdown of fat gets broken down into triglycerides, and triglycerides, as that phrase, that term implies, there are three. So three fatty acids that are attached to a glycerol backbone, and so the fatty acids, right, become ketones. They get turned into energy, and ketones are formed, and then the glycerol component gets turned into sugar, and that's why someone who is fasting, even if they've done extended fast, as you've seen with me, their blood sugar doesn't go to zero because the body still has an amped up supply of triglycerides to convert some of it, the glycerol part at least, to glucose. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you. All right, so that's 20 to 30. So fat adaptation, right, is what's going on during that period, and the body is now saying, okay, yeah, we're making ketones, right? Let's make some ketones. So significant increase in ketone production is going on. Decreased reliance on gluconeogenesis for energy. The fat oxidation increases, so more fatty acids are converted into ketones. Energy levels now stabilize because the body has become more efficient at using ketones for energy. Hunger often begins to decrease. So actually, hunger is decreased prior to this, but it's really significant. So I'll tell people, they say, hey, aren't you hungry? And I'll say, no, after that first 12 to 18 hours, the hunger goes away. In fact, if I'm not careful, right, and you guys have seen me here on the channel, we've done, like last night we did a 97, 98 hour fast. If I'm not careful, I will go beyond that because I'm not hungry. So I've got to actually tell myself, I've got to give myself a deadline when I'm going to break the fast, or I will just keep going. Not because I was planning to do that, it's just because I'm not hungry. But if you catch me during those first 8 to 12 hours, the social cues are still on my mind. Right? The access still on my mind. Hey, there's some stuff there. Let's go grab some. But after I get into that 24, 30 hours, yeah, done, gone. Okay. All right. So that's preparing for the fast, getting through the fast, and then we break the fast. And breaking the fast is just as important. Let me say that again. Breaking the fast is just as important as how we prepare for the fast and how we get through the fast. Because if you don't do a good job here, then you will have problems, not just this time, but your body, your brain will remember what it was like the last time. And it won't let you, it will tell you not to fast. Okay, so breaking the fast is just as important as how we start the fast and how we get into the fast. Let me take a quick break here to say hello to another one of our community members that just dropped in. Hey, Steve, how you doing, man? Glad that you are here. Are you in a fast right now, or you just came out of a fast? Drop that in the comments. And then Jennifer is saying howdy to Steve. All right, awesome. All right. So breaking the fast. So breaking the fast, several things here that we want to talk about. CQ, we're going to be answering your question here in just a minute. So tips, here are some tips. Monitor your blood sugars. Now we're talking, we said we are talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to put their diabetes in remission and reverse their diabetes. But this is true for everyone. Pretty soon here, they tell me coming in the fall, it was supposed to be out this summer. One of the companies is going to be putting out an over-the-counter continuous glucose monitor that you can then use to check blood sugar. But even if you don't do that, probably the least expensive monitor that's on the market is at Walmart, actually, right? So you can get one of those and check your blood sugar. So anything you want to track, you want to change. Everything you want to change, you want to track. Why would someone who's not diabetic check blood sugars? Well, it helps you to know what your food is doing to your body, right? You'll begin seeing fluctuations. And remember, fluctuations in blood sugar means fluctuations in insulin. Fluctuations in insulin means that our bodies are being affected by insulin. That's the key. Right. Next is portion control. And right here, so CQ, here's your answer. So portion control. One of the things that happens is people go through the fast and they do an amazing job of preparing for the fast. They're rested, they are hydrated, they don't have any stressful things go on. All of the things that we talk about, they eat nutrient-dense foods, and they get through the fast successfully. 24, 36, 16, 8, whatever they do. But then when they come out of the fast, they are eating a lot more food. And so because they're eating a lot more food, right, some of the things that they have done during the fasting process, it gets reversed. So their weight goes up, blood sugar goes up, which causes spike in insulin. Spike in insulin causes appetite to be stimulated, and now they're hungry and they're eating and so on and so forth. So you want to make sure that you're maintaining portion sizes, right? And you can track portion size in lots of different ways. In this case, CQ was asking about calories. Calories are one way that you can track those as well. Okay. Oh, what did I do? I think I just changed. Oh, there we are. Okay. So eat slowly. So don't just sit down and start throwing things back, right? Eat slowly. And then avoid sugary processed foods. Now, I'll tell you, for me, and when we look at my graph here in another couple of minutes again, for me, it's not just sugary stuff, right? As a matter of fact, why don't we do that right now? I'm going to pull up this is my Libre, my Dexcom, sorry. Right, see that down there at the bottom? That was when I broke the fast, and I broke the fast with brisket and a salad. And then later on, I ate those mixed nuts. And look at the spike that I saw in my blood sugar. And that kind of remained, right, up until this morning? So for me, it's not just the process. So you have to learn yourself. You have to learn what goes on in your body. What is your body telling you? One of the things that we talked about is listening to your body, right? So making sure that you are doing that, listening to your body. Not just how you feel, but what is the body telling you? And that's why checking blood sugar is very important. So Steve says, no fasting. I had some Jell-O and macadamia nuts this morning. Ketones 1.7. Look at you, Steve. I love that. Love that. Okay. I love that. All right. So back to our fasting. So breaking the fast. So avoid sugary things. And then make sure you're hydrated, right? So you want to make sure that you are hydrated. And you can use lots of different methods to do that. Water, coconut water, herbal tea, bone broth is another good one to do hydration post-fasting. You want to make sure that you have proteins. Not that you can, but you should make sure you have enough protein. And you can use different things: eggs, chicken, turkey breast, tofu, tempeh. And the last two, particularly for those people who are vegetarians or vegan, make sure that you are getting enough protein as well. And then make sure you're adding some healthy fats, avocado, nuts, seeds, and nuts for me. It's a thing. So nuts, I'm gonna have to put the nuts in a different category and begin using those really as just kind of a treat for myself, right? Because right now, like as I said, my brain says, hey, they're good or they're healthy, and so you can have a lot of them. And that goes back to CQ's question about portions and calories. And then when we're breaking the fast, right, broths, very important. So vegetable broth, bone broth, those are things that you can use to break the fast. I started out using bone broth, actually. And I think I may go back to that because that actually did well. The one I had some carbs in it, so I've got to find some. And either you make them or you buy them. And so the one that I bought had some carbs, and so it did spike my blood sugar up. All right, and some considerations. So when we're breaking the fast, choose foods that help maintain stable blood glucose levels while offering nutritional value and are gentle on the digestive system. So very important there. Focus on low glycemic index foods, lean proteins, healthy fats, and make sure that you are remaining hydrated. Awesome. There you go. All right. So those are that's a review of fasting, and then of course more in depth about the different types of intermittent fasting. So we're gonna, as we do check-ins in the future, we're gonna be talking through some more of the fasting options, because what I found is when I talk to people about fasting, their immediate thought is, oh, I'm not eating for long periods of time. And I really want to get people to understand fasting is a tool that you can use. Fasting is a tool that you can use. You pick it up when you need it, you put it down when you need it, you change it when you need it, right? So it is not that you're carrying the fasting around with you all the time. Now, for me, I have decided that for at least this period, I am doing an extended fast once a week. And you guys have seen that. On my non-fasting days, I do basically an intermittent fast. And my challenge to you is to incorporate a fast once a week. And the goal is for a 24-hour fast at least once a week. Now, you can do more than that. Right, 2 times a week, 3 times a week, and then on non-24-hour fasting days, you do like Steve just said that he did. He's doing. He did. Actually, I don't think Steve said he did a fast, but Jennifer, right, is in the process of doing different intermittent fasts. And I think yesterday Teresa said that she had done a fast as well. Okay, so you incorporate the fast, but you are doing the fast for the health benefits. Okay, and that's why it's important to talk about your why. All right, so I do want to say, and this is a great segue actually, when we talk about tools, to say that you have unlimited potential, unlimited ability to make changes in your life, in your metabolic life. You have that ability. You have the power within you to create your destiny. We need you. We want you. We want to work with you to access that. And that's what we do here on the channel. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. Because when you decide, when this thing changes, when this mindset changes, when you make a frame shift, when you look at things a different way, then the potential gets released. And our goal here is to educate, empower, and encourage. That's the triple E formula for success. We educate with the shows that we do, the podcasts, the blogs, all of that is with the intention of providing information that gives you the ability to shift the frame. We want you to begin working with a growth mindset and not with the idea of scarcity. Growth mindset said that even though this is where I am, even though I don't have the know-how right now, I can be better than I am right now. That's what the growth mindset said. It sets you up for success because it opens up the possibility that there can be change. So we educate, we empower with the tools that we provide. the things that we're learning, emotional intelligence, how to create a meal, how to fast, what type of fast to use, how to look at your medications, what medications you should be on, what medications you should come off of, right? The pillars of diabetes reversal, right? Decrease insulin, suppress appetite, and reduce sugar. All of those are tools that we use in the process of putting into practice the things that we're learning. And then we encourage with the community that you are part of that you make robust and rich by showing up and becoming a part of what we do. Remember, as you're moving through the process, there are going to be several things that are going on, several things that are going to pull you, they're going to try to push you out of your eating window or out of your eating time, right? So habits, emotions, access, and taste, these are the things that will trigger you. The habits that you have, the patterns, the behaviors, those routines, the emotions, the anger, the frustration, the depression, the boredom, all of that will push through your decision. And then access to food, having it around, and then taste. And we're never chasing taste. We're always chasing what the food does for us, the space it puts us in, the calm it brings, the memory it brings back. And so I want you to, when you show up, right, here's your call to action, work through the challenges. We do a challenge every month, and we want you to work with it. We want you to be in there. I want you to be applying those things because that's the only way to be successful. When you show up, tell your story, right? Just like you see people in the chat, they're talking and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what's happening to me, right? Share your story. Claim your seat. Say, I'm here. I fasted. Or say, I'm having a challenge so that we can begin rallying around you and giving you support. And then invite someone to the family. Invite someone to the community. Let them know what's going on. There are right now over 1 billion people on the planet that are either diabetic or pre-diabetes. I'm not even added to that number, people who have coronary artery disease or strokes or who have polycystic ovarian syndrome, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and on and on and on. You can be the voice of change in your You can change your family structure. You can change the health at your job, at your church, in your community, at your house. Wherever you are, you can be a voice. Invite people here. Let them know what's going on. Send them a message. And it looks like I think I just lost one of my cameras. Let's see if I can come back this way. All right, let's do this one. A little behind the scene. Okay, there we go. So while that's going, I'm going to turn this one off. All right, there we go. And we'll come back. We'll come back to that one here in just a minute. So, so invite them here and let them know what is going on. Let them know what we're doing. Let them know that they can be a part of this community as well. Okay, and if you do that, then you can be a voice for change, a voice to help them be better metabolically so that they can do the things they need to do to set themselves up for success. And after all, one of the reasons that we do what we do is because we want to create an environment where people can be successful so that we can have interaction, so we can enjoy the process of being a part of their world. Okay? Awesome. All right, let's see if my forward camera is coming back. All right, as always, I'm glad to be with you and glad that you have joined and that you are here. Yes. And as I say, hey, well, actually, let me hop over and make sure I did not miss any comments. Let's see. So we talked, so Steve said macadamias, 1.7. Jennifer says, awesome, Steve. So Teresa said, I did a 27-hour fast. Yay. And Steve is saying, thank you, Jennifer. My wife and I are doing our best to get healthy. We did 6 days a week doing a 24-hour fast. I like it. Okay. Me and my wife, yes. Hey, Jennifer and Steve. So Teresa's saying hello. Blah, blah, blah. And Steve said, great that you have built-in support in your house. Yes, always, always. Remember, community is so important. She's a huge help to me, Steve says. And then Jennifer says, nice, Teresa. Hope it is going well for you. Usually I feel better once through a fast. I never seem to get to the not thinking of food point. Yeah, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress, Jennifer. Yeah. All right. So one thing I do want to say is if you've not yet done so, we have our newest feature, This Week in Review, that is aired on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. Central. Make sure you join us there where we recast the shows and with some commentary, and we've had some good responses to that so far. So if you've not done that yet, make sure you get over there and work on it. And so for those of you who are here, thank you for joining us. As I always say, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health in your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. We'll see you Sunday morning for This Week in Review, 6 a.m. Central, and then on Monday for Dwain Woode MD Live right here at 7 p.m. Central. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you then.